Hi, I'm Nate John Gross. I lead West Coast sales for Bliss, a location powered advertising and analytics partner. As we all know, this is an unprecedented time for the world and for our industry, and we're all trying to interpret the ongoing changes and to adapt to this time together. Bliss has launched a global content series to analyze and help our partners understand changing consumer behaviors in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. As a part of this, I'll be hosting a Q&A conversation series with marketing leaders to uncover what their brands are observing, how they're reacting, and what recommendations they can share. To kick things off, I'm here with Jameson Vallone, AVP of Marketing at Brandbox by Macerich. Jameson, thank you for joining today.
Thanks for having me.
Jameson has over 15 years experience in the retail real estate industry and works with direct-to-consumer brands to accelerate growth across digital and physical marketing channels. He currently leads Brandbox by Macerich, a turnkey solution for direct-to-consumer brands to open physical retail stores with flexible terms, modular store designs, and advanced data and analytics. Previously, Jameson led digital product development for Macerich, including web, mobile app, and social media strategy for over 50 shopping, dining, and entertainment venues across the US. So to get started, I don't want to steal all of your thunder, so why don't you tell us a little bit more about Brandbox, Macerich, and your role there?
Sure. So I work for Macerich, which is one of the largest retail real estate firms in the country, with properties from in Los Angeles to Chicago to New York to DC, Pacific Northwest. And specifically, I lead marketing for a segment of our business called Brandbox by Macerich, which, as you mentioned, helps digitally native brands open and test physical stores. So think Glossier, Allbirds, Nectar Sleep, all brands that begin online and primarily sell direct to consumer. The reality is that brands that operate exclusively online can only scale their business to a certain size, and then their growth begins to plateau. And so at that point, they look to other channels, such as physical stores, to help them continue to grow their business. So at Brandbox, we help them select locations with flexible lease terms that are 6 to 12 months, provide white box space that's pre-wired with Wi-Fi, traffic analytics, Sonos, help them with design and build out, and basically everything that goes into opening a physical store in a matter of weeks, not months.
Great. That's super interesting. And I think, since COVID-19, the world has changed significantly. So on a broad level, how has that impacted Brandbox and Macerich?
Quite significantly, as you can imagine. Relatively every one of our retailers are closed across the country, with the exception of some essential businesses like restaurants or grocery stores that do remain open. So majority of our real estate is sitting empty. And that has pushed business for all of our retailers online only for the moment. And most brands are dealing with the most difficult decisions they've had to make really in their company's history. Making alterations to supply chain, marketing messages, furloughing staff, or whittling down their corporate overhead in order to weather the storm. And we anticipate a number of them will not be able to or are unwilling to pay rent for a certain period, which is a sensitive topic I won't get too far into. But yeah, our entire world is flipped upside down as physical shopping simply isn't an option for any American right now.
Right, absolutely. And a number of people are changing up their strategies in a number of different ways. I'd imagine that you probably had people that were planning to launch stores during this period. What are they doing now that they can't launch a physical store? Do you have any examples of that you can talk to?
Yeah, we did have Glossier, which was going to open a store at a property in Scottsdale, I think around the week of March 15th, so right before everything went down. They obviously paused right before even any of the stay-at-home orders came on, as it's normal for 50 to 100 people to be in line to get into a Glossier store at any given time. And so, to mitigate risk for crowds, they decided to close all of their retail locations. And, as I mentioned, regardless, like the push for all retail business has gone towards e-commerce and also selling direct, as a lot of brands have had orders being canceled from department stores and wholesale partners. And then, we're also seeing the acceleration of technology during this time. So for instance, Not Standard and Indochino are employing the use of more virtual measurement and virtual appointment systems, to make bespoke suits. So we're seeing definitely the acceleration of e-com tech in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of what we have done and what we've seen some clients do is being in the location space. Obviously, nobody is out moving around right now. So we're actually looking at the past 6 months of data and saying, what did these people do in the real world before COVID-19 happened? So we can help an e-commerce retailer, say, identify people that went to stores like Glossier or went to a Sephora to help them identify prospects that might translate well into the e-commerce space.
Cool.
I think along those lines is we've certainly changed a lot in the way that we're talking to our customers, we're talking to retailers and CPG companies. How has your communication and outreach to your clients and prospects changed? And how are you helping them through the current crisis?
Well, we're obviously not doing any large business conferences or hosting small intimate dinners events anymore. That's for sure. And talking about leasing or opening a physical store is kind of at the lowest priority for any brand right now. And so, the reality is we're successful only when our retailers are successful. So it's in our best interest at this time to provide the best information we can to help them navigate this time period. So we have people on our team that have become experts in the CARES Act and Paycheck Protection Program and how it could apply to some of our brands' businesses. Others like myself are reading countless articles about how brands are getting through this time and altering their supply chain or revising their marketing messages, improving e-com tech. And we package up the best of the best and send it to our brands on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And because no one really wants to talk about leasing space at this particular moment in time, this is a means for us to be helpful to our prospects, but also keep the relationship healthy and lines of communication open.
Right, absolutely. And what can you share that you've learned from other markets? I know if you look at Wuhan now, you're starting to see they are starting to open up. I literally just got a notification on my phone a couple hours ago that Germany is going to start opening things back up, I think next week. So are there any case studies that you're able to share from other markets where retail has been successful in reopening?
Yeah. As we think about what this means for us when we go to reopen our properties, we have teams of people that are like focusing exclusively on what the future might hold for that, what it might look like, what shopper demand might look like. And as you can imagine, we are looking to other markets and what's happening in China and observing trends there. So for instance, we're looking at patterns in China where some trends show 30, 40, 50% traffic declines, declines in traffic after malls open back up. And then you're seeing other stories like an Hermes store in China that did $2.7 million in sales in a single day last Saturday. And so, it's early days, and what's happening in China is not completely indicative of what might happen here. But it's a big question mark. But I will say that we are laser focused on creating a safe and enjoyable experience when our shoppers are ready to join us again.
Absolutely. Since this whole crisis has happened, have you seen any success stories that you think have been important from either your clients or other retail brands that you think are just really doing a good job of handling the whole COVID-19 epidemic?
Yeah, I think about that in two areas. The first I think is around brand building and social impact. And really that's all of the brands that have shifted manufacturing to creating PPE for medical workers, including like Under Armour or Ministry of Supply. Rothy's, for instance, has created the Open Innovation Coalition with Lucky Brand, Marine Layer, Third Love, and a few other brands to open source manufacturing processes so retailers can produce PPE for medical workers. And not only is this kind of like the socially responsible thing to do, but it's really good brand building and keeps brands at the forefront of customers' minds, either for spending now or when the economy opens back up. And then kind of the second area that comes to mind is in digital advertising. We work with a few home textiles brands, so think sheets and furniture, et cetera, who have reported huge increases in their online traffic for a couple of reasons. First is the nature of their business with people wanting to make their homes better environments if they're going to be stuck inside the whole time. So that kind of organically increases traffic. And then, second, they've continued to spend at the same level for online advertising, but their dollar can reach so much further as online advertisers pull back, other online advertisers pull back their budgets, and Facebook and Instagram are lowering their ad rates by 20 to 30%, according to the Wall Street Journal this past week. And so I think both of those factors together are playing well for some home textile brands.
Yeah, absolutely. I was speaking to somebody yesterday who's actually in the food or baking space, and they were saying without doing any digital advertising, that their sales have basically stayed at the same levels, but he's arguing for doing more advertising because he knows that if they go back to the levels that they were at before, they could be driving even more sales, especially, everyone's at home going baking. I've been to the store, it's hard to even find flour on the shelves. So obviously that's something that's very popular right now with everyone being stuck at home.
Yeah, I can tell you I have never cooked more in my life than I am right now.
Yeah, same.
Really honing my culinary skills.
So I guess post-COVID-19, what we've seen is a big change in the types of stores that have been deemed as essential stores and what's allowed to stay open and what's not allowed to stay open. Are you shifting any focus to focus on these types of companies that you would actually recruit for a physical space moving forward and in the future?
It's an interesting question. Prior to COVID-19, we were seeing a lot happen in the pure experiential space. So think Museum of Ice Cream or Candytopia-esque activations, which are now in trouble by nature of their physically interactive business. Co-working concepts like Industrious were starting to be very popular, coming to shopping centers before this time. And so what some of these look like on the other side of this pandemic is going to be interesting. How might the needs of office space change in the future because of this? I will say, even before COVID, we started to become very interested in the consumerization of healthcare space. After success stories of our own with brands like Candid, Teeth Alliance Studios, and looking at concepts like One Medical and Forward, even new veterinary services, I think we'll start to see a lot more uses in that space accelerate now. And then I think we'll also, start to look at what essential businesses mean for our properties and where we might have opportunities to, for instance, transform an old department store space into a grocery store, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely. That totally makes a ton of sense. I think that I'm going to wrap it up with one last question. And I think this is important, and it's something that people are definitely thinking about as various states begin to reopen their economies. What are you doing within your shopping, dining, and entertainment venues to make retailers and their customers and even their employees feel safe?
Mm-hmm. It's a huge topic, and even before the shutdown, in which we doubled housekeeping, cleaning, and put hand sanitizers readily available throughout the center. We were very focused on that, and we'll continue to be on the other side of it. But as I mentioned a little bit earlier, thinking about what happens after the economy starts to open back up is of incredible importance to us. We do have teams of people that are thinking about it and debating it. As I mentioned, we're looking to what's happening in other markets such as China. And we definitely don't have all of the answers as it stands now. But as I mentioned, we are really laser focused on creating a safe and enjoyable experience when our shoppers are ready to join us again.
Right, absolutely. I think at this point, everybody's ready to get out. So I think thinking about how you can be safe when you're out back in the real world again, before there's something like a vaccine, is definitely going to be something that's on everyone's mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you again so much for joining us today. I think this has been really helpful and informative. And please stay tuned for the next Q&A from Bliss in our Changing Behavior series.
Thanks, Nate.
Thank you.